All right, welcome back to another video. So today we're out on the lake and it's a dreary, cold spring morning, but I wanted to get out here and I wanted to do a video on Garmin settings. So probably one of the most asked questions I get is, what are your settings that you use when you're trolling with your Garmin? So today we're going to go over some of that stuff. We're going to take this thing and we're going to max it out. We're going to see what the maximum range is. We're going to see what the maximum depth is. So before we start though, there are a few settings that you guys can play with before you even get lines in the water. So let's take a look. All right, so right now I'm basically just started my Garmin. One of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to look for a color that's suitable for the day that I am fishing. So today is really overcast. The sun's not out, so we're going to look for a color that is suitable for my eye. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go and we're going to hit options and we're going to look at sonar setup. And what you're going to see is up on the top it says appearance and it says color scheme. Now there's multiple choices here. Some of my favorite ones are amber, copper, black emerald. There's a bunch of other ones, but those would be the three that I use the most. Orange crawfish is decent. And of course the blue. A lot of guys like the blue, not particularly one of my favorites. So for today we're going to use black emerald. All right, so let's back out of that. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at our color gain. Now color gain is how bright or less bright it looks on the screen. So we're going to go again. Let me back out of there. We'll go to options and we'll go to sonar setup, and then we will go to appearance and color gain. Now you don't want to leave this on default, because what it's going to do, it's going to drop it down in that 40-50% range, and it's going to dull the image a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to move that up to about 80%, between 80 and 85. I'll set it at like 83, 82. All right, and what that's going to do is it's going to brighten the image on the screen significantly so that it shows up a little bit better, especially when you get a little bit of a reflection from the sun. So that would be the first two things that I would do. Appearance, set it to what is the best color to your eye. As far as color gain, I'm going to go around that 80% and we'll back out of that. All right, now the other thing when you're trolling is noise reject. Now I keep noise reject on high only because as there's things in the water, pollen, whatever it may be, the water may be a little bit cloudy. If you take that noise reject and turn it off, you're going to start to see just about everything in that water. It's going to really cloud up your image. It's going to make it harder for you to distinguish between your presentation and something that the Garmin is picking up. So we're going to go noise reject and we're going to put that on high. Clears the screen up a little bit nicely, and we're going to back out of there. All right, so the next setting that we're going to look at is TVG, which stands for time variable gain. So what this setting does is it takes all of the clutter out of the upper portion of the water column. What we're going to do there is we're going to go back to sonar setup, and you'll see it looks like it's the fifth one down, TVG. Now if you turn that off, you'll start to pick up some stuff in the upper water column. So I'm going to leave that off because right now I'm going to want to see that stuff, and we may change that a little bit later. In fact, I'm going to go low and in fact, you know what, I'm gonna turn it off. Now, a lot of guys like to see a perfectly clear screen, you know, when they're trolling or when they're using their Livescope. I don't really necessarily like that. I want to see what's in the water. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ghost reject, and we're going to turn that on high. And the reason we're going to do that is I don't want to see the ghost tree. So let me turn it off and kind of show you what it looks like when it's off. Actually, it has still a pretty good look to it. So, but we're going to put that on high for when we're trolling. All right, so there again we go appearance. You know, we picked our appearance, and that's under sonar setup. We did ghost reject on high. We have TVG off, and right now noise reject is going to be on high. So those are going to be a few of the settings that you can kind of set up before you go out. Now, what that's going to do is when we're trolling, then we're basically going to be playing with our gain, and you can see as I move around, I have a pretty good right now, a little bit of a ghost tree. I'll usually start out with my gain around 70%, and you know, move it around from there. The answer is there is no set setting. So, you know, I may start out with these settings and then have to move around a little bit as we go. So we're going to play around with it. I'm going to get 2 lines in the water. Nothing special today. I'm going to set them up flat line. We got a tree with a flatfish so that we can really pick these things up on the Garmin so that you guys can see what we have. And we're going to stretch this thing out as far as we can. All right, so our first set of presentations that I have out, I have one on a downrigger. We're about 12 foot in depth, and I have another one flatlined with a 1/2 ounce trolling weight on there. And you guys can see we've already got some chasers coming across the screen there, and I'm more or less doing this to show you guys the range of, you know, the Garmin, more so than catching fish. But hey, if we catch fish in the, you know, in the process, I'm all for that. So, all right, so right now we're down about 12-13 feet on the downrigger, and you can clearly see, you know, there's the tree and the flatfish. Now the other side, we're out about, I'm going to say about 60 feet, and having a little bit harder time picking that guy up. So let's see what we could do here. I'm going to pick the gain up and see if I can find it. Really get that thing cooking, and I still can't see it over there. There's back to that one, and we're still kind of not able to see that one. So we'll bring this one more into focus, and we'll drop that gain down just a little bit so I can still see the tree on the downrigger. So, you know, we're set up on the starboard side with the Garmin, so of course you're gonna have a better feeling and have an easier time finding the presentation that you have set up on that side. Now, many times I can put both downriggers out and pick up both at the same time, and we may do that just so we can play around with the settings a little bit so that you guys can see exactly what this thing can do and how far you can stretch it out once you get it down there. I'm surprised we can't find that other guy. That should be down a little bit. I don't think we're 70 feet. Now you'll see my range is at around 75. As I bring that in, you notice that, you know, you get a better clip of the screen. Now, as far as the depth setting is concerned, I'll set the depth so that the bottom of the lake is right at the bottom of my screen. So you see we're in about 50 feet of water. So I'll set that around 55, 60, somewhere around there for this depth, and that's going to be constantly changing. So you're going to be playing with that all day long, moving it around and trying to, you know, get yourself so that you can have the best picture on the Garmin when you're working through it. So we'll leave it right there now. This stays around that 45-50 foot mark all the way down through this run, so we should be in pretty good shape. Let's see if we can bring that back up. Yep, there it is right there, and you can see that on the screen. Hopefully my record screen is working, so I'm going to shut that off for a minute. Alright, so right now we are port side. We're about 75 feet behind the boat, and starboard side we're around 50. Both we can easily see. You can see my gain. I'll start the gain out around between 70 and 75, and that will be another setting that throughout the day I'll move that up and down. Now, a lot of guys like to see a completely clear screen like that, what you're seeing right now on the screen. And yeah, you can still pick up the tree. You can see it there right below the 50, and the one on the other side, you can just pick it up around that 70-75 mark. The problem with it is I want to see as much definition as I possibly can. So as I'm moving through, I'm going to start running that gain up. Even though I may pick up a little graininess in the water, I still want to be able to see what's going on with that presentation, how the fish are interacting with that. Are they coming up? Are they checking it out? Are they letting it completely pass by? Now, if I see them completely passing it up, I'm going to go ahead and probably change out to something different, whether it be a different size bait, a different color, whatever it may be. Maybe I'll add scent, something to get their attention. So right now we're pulling up along here on a pretty good flat stretch, so I'm going to start to push these out a little bit and max this thing out. I want to let you guys see just how far out you could take the LVS 34 and still be able to see your presentation. Now, granted, Christmas tree you get a great return on. If we were to switch over to a spoon, which we might do, you might have to draw it in a little bit. Generally speaking, when I'm on downriggers, you know, once you get past that 80, 85, you're really going to be stretching to see that presentation clearly. So we'll try to define that for you guys. We'll try to get you guys to see exactly what this thing can do, because it is not endless as far as, you know, what the limit of the LVS 34 and the Garmin unit is. If you're in that 50-foot range, which is usually where I am with downriggers, it's going to be perfect. You'll be able to see the fish head, the fish tail. You'll be able to see everything. You'll be able to see your presentation. You'll be able to see them come up, take it, and it's actually perfect in that range. Now, I think what I'm going to do is sonar setup. I'm going to put that TVG on high and try to get rid of some of that, a little bit more of that noise, and I'm going to put the ghost reject on high as well and really try to crisp up that image. And now you can see we're in 44 or 45 feet of water. I'm set at 55, so I'm going to drop it down. Try to keep that image as large as you possibly can to give yourself the best view of what your presentation is doing out in the water. Now we're down about 15 feet, 12-15 feet. I'm going to drop that down just to show you guys. I'm going to take it down to 20. And you'll see that start to drop down. Now we are right in the wheelhouse of where the LVS, in fact, there's a fish coming across there around 30-foot range out from us. We'll see if we get his attention. Oh, he must have went right by. I didn't see him come back. Let's see what the other guy is doing out there. And he's still going at it out there around 70 feet. All right, we're in some pretty calm water here. So what I'm going to do is I am going to take and push the line on the port side out even further. So we're at 90 now. I'm going to stick it out at about 100 and see what happens here. I'm going to bring it in first just to check it and make sure we're not all twisted or anything like that. We're going to get this guy way out there and see if we can pick it up on the Garmin. And I'm going to say that this is probably going to about max it out from a trolling perspective at about 100. I'm gonna run it out about 105 feet and see what happens. We'll put it down at 10 foot, 12 foot depth. As far as the depth goes, we'll go that 10-12 foot range. All right, there's 100. There's 110. And we'll pull that down. All right, 110 feet behind the boat and a depth of, we'll go 10. There's 10 feet right there. That's pretty good. All right. Now we're really going to start pulling. Okay, let's go back over to the screen. All right, let's go back over to the screen and see what we could see here. Now, I'm going to have to change my range again. I'm going to go out to 120. See what I can see there. There's the one on that side, and we can increase the gain and it should be around there somewhere. Let me go out to 130 feet, see if I can find it. No, I think we're maxed out. All right, let me get straight. Increase the gain even more. I really got that thing humming now. You could see the other one is really giving me a return. Let's see if I can pull that guy into visual. Nope, just not seeing it. Let's try to drop it down just a little bit. Let's see. That's 13 feet. Just got out of visual range with that one. You can see we're really grainy because I have the gain up to 80. Can see the line. just not picking them up. All right, so I think we're maxed out. Probably that 100-foot mark is probably going to be, as far as trolling with the downrigger goes, about our max. We have a really good return on that 50-foot mark. Now, one of the things you're going to see, let me get on that. All right, so I'm dead on the one there. Now watch as I bring my range in, how much better of a return. See how clear that is now? You can almost see the tree spinning in the water, and that cleared up. Now I'll drop the gain down even more to get rid of that. There it is. That's about perfect. Maybe just a little bit more gain. Now I don't mind having that little bit of haze in the background. If it gives me a good return like that, I certainly don't mind that. All right, guys, that's going to about do it for me for the day. Hopefully this was helpful in answering some of those questions on what are the best settings for the GARMIN Livescope when you're trolling. So the answer is, there is no answer. So it's going to be based upon a bunch of different variables: water quality, what the weather is like, what you see on your screen. And, you know, the answer is, you know, there's a few of those settings that we can go and change before we get out on the water that we know, all right, that's a good starting point, but it's a work in progress. So water quality, you know, depth, the range, what size bait you have on will also affect kind of how you see those presentations out behind the boat. I think we saw from that 50 to 70 foot range behind the boat, we were very, you know, the bait was very easy to see. We were able to see the trees spinning in the water. We could see the flatfish pretty clearly. Once we got past that 70 foot range, it started to break down a little bit. You could still see it. It was still probably useful as far as seeing how the fish interact. Once we got to that 110 foot mark, I think what happened is you just start to break down and, you know, not be able to see what was going on. Now, keep in mind, the tree gives you a very good return. So if you were using something like a small spoon or even a small stick bait, you probably wouldn't get as much out of the range as, you know, we saw today with the trees. But still, it was good to get out, try to answer some of these questions for you guys. Hopefully it helps you guys out in, you know, when you get out there and you're going to try to troll with these things. And definitely, you know, it is a useful tool when you're trolling. Hopefully you guys will like this video. Hopefully you guys will hit that subscribe, and I will see you guys soon out on the water.